Hey everybody, I want to welcome you to this week's edition of the Galilee podcast. It is episode 12, and today I am joined by some of our support staff here at the church. We are going to talk to some of the unsung heroes of church. And I say some, we have lots of them, but these are two specifically. So with me today I have Miss Ashley Cashwell, who is our graphic arts and social media person. That's what she claims to say that she does. We're still not working on it. And then, of course, we're very pleased because the Queen Bee herself has come down from her throne to join us in the real world. Christy Manor, our office administrator, welcome.
Thanks.
Yes, great. All right, welcome. So, real quickly, because I did not do a good enough job, let's talk about what you actually do so that people know.
Me first?
Yes, you first.
I do lots of things. So social media, anything you see online, any graphics that you see in the service, or promoting anything, do a lot of the promotions. But then I'm also helping right now Ray with all the worship, all the lyrics you see, and the sermon that you see online now. I'm doing the editing of that. So.
All right. So all the video stuff too.
Yes.
All right. Miss Queen.
I pretty much make sure things run smoothly. So I'm celebrity. Just things behind the scenes, services, whatever. Not really services, but events.
Yes.
The property.
You are Nick's brain sometimes.
I am Nick's brain at times.
Yeah.
That's
all of our brains.
yeah.
And before we get too far, we would be remiss if we did not also say that we have one great unsung hero in the office, and that's Miss Patty.
Yes.
She's not here with us today, but she's the one that makes sure the lights stay on. So she's very important. All right, so I thought it'd be neat for us today to kind of talk a little bit about church, a little bit about quarantine experience from y'all's point of view. Because I feel like as a church, most of the time the pastors and the ministers get on stage and we do a lot of the talking and people want to, we kind of share information. So I thought it would be neat to get some other people's perspective on some things this week, just kind of to hear from some different voices. So we're going to do that, and then at the end, I want to talk about Family Fun Night. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, just to help people know about it, what we're going to do, what they can expect, and some of that basic info. All right, so kind of right off the bat, the first thing is let's get kind of what was your experience through quarantine? What was that like? Take us back to the beginning, when we first kind of entered it at home, at church. I mean, what were you thinking? It's a lot of stuff, but kind of what was quarantine like for you? What would you say?
In the very beginning, I thought, how are we going to accomplish what we need to accomplish from home?
Sure.
Because in the 20 some odd years I've been doing this, I've never done it outside of the office. And having connection to the printer and to the, whatever. But as the days went by, I developed a routine, and I'm a very type A person that has to have a routine. So I got up at the same time of day, I got started at the same time, I did everything at the same time of day. It was a little different because when I leave here at 5 during regular time, I leave the phones. So during the entire quarantine, the phones were forwarded to my cell phone. And a lot of times I would answer the phones different because if you were not in my program to my phone, I figured it was a church call. And then I ended up answering the phone, thank you for calling Galilee, to somebody that had no clue what I was talking about. And I mean, those calls would come in at 10 o'clock at night, on the weekends, and I had to put myself in I'm going to let it go to voicemail to see if it's an emergency, but for the first little bit, I couldn't do that because I felt like I couldn't turn it off, turn my connection off.
Yeah, April talked about that same thing for her as a teacher, that when she's at school, she can go to school and she can come home and she's done.
Yeah.
But during this quarantine time with online learning, there's no real done. So it's like she'd get emails at 10 o'clock from people, from students or from parents. And so in quarantine time, for us normally we can go home and, like you said, you can turn off the phone. But during quarantine time, there's no real off time. It's always, it's always got something to do.
And I had a hard time setting that schedule.
Yeah.
Like I had a schedule, a routine every day, but I had no clock out time. And, my family would be like, hey, it's after hours.
Mhm.
Sit down, have dinner. You don't have to reply to that email right now, or you don't have to answer that phone call. And I'm like, but it's the church, you know?
Yeah.
And that was difficult for me.
For you?
Well, it started out pretty difficult because we had to do school
Yeah.
at home, and I have a 2-year-old. So that was, I mean, the boys hated school at home. I'm sure
Yeah.
lots of kids hated it at home. They didn't want to do it. They didn't have, there was no routine at my house. Finn was very much like, why can't everyone play with me right now? And then I had to work on top of that. So there was a lot of, are you done? And I gotta go work. Are you done? Do you have this done? So there was a lot of that. And Philip, for the beginning of it, was working in North Carolina. So it was me by myself for school and work. So that was challenging. But I mean, I think the biggest challenge for me was the school part. The work part was kind of like, I got away from it. I got away from them and was by myself. But I was working more at night too, because it had to get done. Like when I started doing the editing, they weren't going to have church. If I didn't get it edited and get it posted online, like no one was going to see church.
Yeah.
So I would work until like 9 and 10 o'clock at night, and that was hard. But yeah, the worst part for me was school and the boys.
Yeah.
They just hated it so much.
Yeah, I April would have so much, she's got like, 20 kids who needs her attention. And then on top of it, she's got Addison.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know how teachers were doing
I was
it,
having to you got to take care of this. So I'm like trying to help her do her math homework the best I can, or this work or whatever, so that she could concentrate. Yeah, it was hard. And once school was over, it was like, oh, thank God, that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, I'm an introvert, and we have 9 people in our house.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm the same way. Like, I totally get it.
all of us in the house
only have
at the
3
same
people in the
time. And the only person that was leaving every day was Shane. He was able to go to work, and Hannah works at the hospital, so she was able to go to work. But the rest of us were in that house together. And I would find myself, I've got to go find a corner of the yard and sit there, or just sit outside under the trees just to get a little bit of me time or away from.
And I'm
everybody.
an extrovert, and I had no one in my house.
Yes, and we could swap.
Did you guys, what was it like for you? And I'm like you, I'm an introvert, so my natural tendency is to stay home. Addison's the same way. I mean, there was a stretch, I probably of 2 weeks or more, where I literally never left the house. I mean, literally, from the moment I got up to the moment we went to bed, it was inside the house. Did you have one of those?
I would have been that way, except the childcare where the grandkids go was open for healthcare employees, which that was the only way, with Hannah working at the hospital, that was the only way that I was able to get work done, because having 2 toddlers, that would have been a nightmare. But that's the only way, that's the only time I left.
Yeah. And at first I was the only person leaving, so the girls were in the house probably the longest.
Yeah, and now I did go every evening and ride my bike.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, and then it came to walking, running type situation. But it was really funny because like Tanger was closed, and I lived just a couple of miles from Tanger. So we put our bikes up in the back of the truck and drove over to the outlets, and it's eerie because it was like everything had stood still, and there's nobody in the parking lot. There's just the guy on the golf cart, the security guard. And so first I was like, just get your bike out and ride it and ask for forgiveness. But then the Christian side of me was like, and the rule follower, I drove over to him and was like, hey, do you care if I ride my bike in the parking lot?
Yeah.
And he was like, no. He said, y'all go ahead. So that became a regular thing every night with my routine. We'd go at the same time and ride about 6 miles just around the Tanger Outlet parking lot.
Yeah.
And as the weeks went on, it was weird because like the mannequins and everything in the windows were still wearing winter clothes. And it was 85 degrees outside.
I've said multiple times, what sci-fi movie are we not getting paid enough to be in?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't. When do we get our compensation? But
How about for you? Did you have one of those periods?
well, I didn't leave because I feel like at the beginning I let the fear completely overtake my brain.
Sure.
And like was like, I mean, it's felt like at one point you were like, you can't even go outside.
Yeah.
And I let that, and I live on 5 acres. But at one point the boys started looking at me like, can we do this? And I had to stop that because I didn't want it just to completely overtake them. So we stayed at home, but we made sure we did stuff outside and, and had fun. And it did go back to like eating dinners every night. I mean, we did that to begin with, but like Philip and I would find ourselves sitting, when he was home on the weekends, sitting outside at night and letting the boys play and doing all the stuff that you didn't have time to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going out now, obviously.
Yeah.
I didn't leave for a while.
Yeah,
But you didn't really have anywhere to go.
Well,
either.
that's the other
like,
thing too. You couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, April had to go to the school one day, and she took her keys. When she came home later, she's like, I realized that was the first day I had been out of the house in like 19 days. So that's all. I mean, like, and they.
It's not good for you.
It's not, and it stacks up on you faster than you realize. Like, and you literally do lose track of day. I'd be sitting there going, it's today, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Friday?
Oh, big time. And I felt like I know what retired people feel like because you're not leaving the house except for necessities.
Yeah.
And you don't know what day it is. And even like these last couple of weeks that we've been back, like yesterday morning, I woke up and I thought it was Friday, and Shane had to tell me, no, it's Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, all day Sunday, I kept going. Saturday, I kept going. Is tomorrow Sunday?
Yeah.
Where are we actually?
Yeah. So that's been difficult, losing track of days.
It was funny to see Philip's side too, though, because his life never changed. He went to work every day.
Right.
He's like, what have I been doing? I'm like, we can't do anything. I mean, your life doesn't feel any different, but mine felt very different.
Yeah. We would go, like, on Saturdays, we would just be like, get in the car, we're just going to drive somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to see somewhere else other than here. And then as stuff started opening up, we would start going back to here or there, different things. But it was, and I think you're right, too. I mean, like, there's fear, and you're like, I don't, I remember one of the first places I had to go to was, like, the Dollar General. And, like, and I'm trying to get through the Dollar General, and I'm trying to be mindful of social distancing. I had to get like one aisle over, and it takes me all the way around the store just to get one aisle over, because I'm like, oh, can't go this way. Oh,
yeah.
And and I don't know about anybody else, but I hate the one-way aisles now.
Oh, it drives me.
I didn't even know.
And I never pay attention.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand them. I'm like, no.
I didn't know that until I was in a store with Philip, and I was like, oh, we can't go.
Yeah. And like people are coming, and you're like, I'm so sorry, I'm going the wrong way.
Well, and so this first trip I go out, I'm in Dollar General, and of course it's one of those things where there are some people who are really mindful of it, and those people who are not. And so I can't tell you how many times I get stuck behind the same old lady who would just park in the middle of the aisle. I can't go down this aisle because I can't distance from you. I need you to move.
For the first little while, Shane would only allow him to be the only person in the house. Him and Hannah were the only person in the house that got gas. So, like, if Emma's car needed filling up or my truck needed filling up, which wasn't
Where are you going to go get it filled up?
But, so he had this whole thing. He put a glove on the hand that would touch the pump. And then he would be very careful not to let his finger touch the gas pump as he's swiping the car. And then after a while, it was like, okay, you can get your own gas now. But
that's over.
We spray down groceries with Lysol. That's how crazy it got. We're spraying down watermelon with Lysol.
I did that.
I didn't do that, but like if we got a shipment of anything to the house, everything was sprayed off and sat out in the sun to dry and to disinfect.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people were doing that.
And then at some point, I got so tired of cooking that I was like, we're trying Grubhub for the first time. I was like,
we'll come to my house.
Oh, they
deliver to your house?
Yeah, we don't get that.
We tried every one of them.
That doesn't happen in our house
That
either.
doesn't happen.
I did find though, now I'm realizing now that stuff is kind of going back to normal, what I don't need anymore. Like we would eat out a lot just because it was easy, but now I'm like, what's even the point? I mean, it's easier to cook at home. We're all at home, or go into stores. I hardly go to a store anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Well, with 9 people in the house, it's really expensive to eat out. So I got in this routine and I cook for everybody. We all eat together, except for Emma. She goes to her room like that. She's like, we just say you're going back to your hole because that's where she goes. And probably because she didn't want to have to sit there with the screaming and the crying. And anyway.
I'm sure a lot of that was it.
Yeah. So, but we got on me and my routines. So every Thursday, Emma works at Huck's. So every Thursday we would get Huck's because we knew they were being safe because we knew what they were doing. They're wearing masks and gloves, and every Friday was pizza. And I'm so sick and tired of pizza.
Oh,
but Olin has gotten on this. he understands, like, if I had hugs last night, he's now waking up on Friday mornings and saying pizza.
You got him like a dog? He's already mouth-watering for pizza.
Yeah. So, me and my stupid routines, now I'm stuck with pizza every Friday.
What would you say is probably the biggest frustration from quarantine? What was probably one of those things that was frustrating to you? You felt like it was the most frustrating thing? I'll tell you what I think, and then this may help you think about it. Like, to me, one of the frustrating things that I think I experienced was just, I was tired of, it was like every day I felt like we were being told something different than the day before, and that made it more and more challenging. And I think that's the struggle we're having now with people, because a lot of people don't know what to believe. And that was frustrating, because it would be like one day it's like, oh well, you walk outside and you're gonna die. And the next day it's like, oh well, you have to be X number thing, and it was just, and then you get the federal government's telling you one thing, and then the state government's looking at something else, and you know.
And I got obsessed with looking at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they were doing it, first they were doing it one time a day, and then they went to twice, and then 3 times a day. Now they're back to 1. But, I got obsessed with looking to see what the numbers had changed. Mm-hmm. And in my area, or, because I live in Banks County, but I look in Banks, and I look in Jackson, then I look in Habersham, and I look in, all the surrounding, and just obsessing with the numbers. I finally had to just be like, I'm not looking at it anymore.
Yeah, well, and then also one of the frustrating things with that would be, you would see X number of deaths
Mm-hmm.
in COVID, and like that's the leading headline, and we've got to hear that for every hour on the hour, how many deaths, and it's so and so's fault, because then it's like, I get, you get kind of tired.
I got obsessed with looking at the news about it, and you have to I feel like that took it to a darker place too, because that's all you could think about. You're like, I would find myself on my phone in front of Finn or the boys, and I'm like, I got to get off this. It's unhealthy to sit in this place, and that's what I think shifted to. You just got to live your life at some point too. You have to be careful and you have to be mindful of other people, but you can't let it overtake your life.
Yeah.
Well, my stepmom teaches in Albany, which is one of the big hit areas, and we found ourselves talking about it every day. Like, how many more have died from down there? And she was getting information from her teacher friends. There were several of her friends that lost like 5 and 6 people in their family from it. So every day it was like, how many more in Dougherty County? How many more in Dougherty? And finally, I just kind of quit talking about it. I can't focus on that.
Can't live there all the time.
Yeah. That's why I enjoyed Some Good News. Did you guys end up watching Some Good News with John Krasinski?
Yeah. And he did the prom.
Oh yeah, you should.
Yeah.
You should go back and find his videos.
Okay.
They're hilarious. They're great. Okay, so now that life is getting back to some semblance of normal, whatever that is, we're not, we're still got some things, but it's pretty much kind of getting there.
A new normal.
A new normal. What is something you guys look forward to?
Already I've loved coming back to church. That Sunday, I didn't know how much you missed, even though we can't even touch people yet. Like that first Sunday, I was here the first day that we came back.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a lot of people, but just seeing people even from a distance, and you leave and you're in such a better mood.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you were missing.
Be cooped up with your family, like the outside people, and it, like when we came back here to set up for that first Sunday in person, it was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in and I mean, even on Wednesday nights when Emma was on Revolution Online, I would just peep and like, Brian, it's so good to see your face. So it was really good for us to be able to see each other in person and not on that screen.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward for my kids to go back to school.
I think a lot of people are.
Go back to school.
To get out of the house. That's why Brian had the record number of people go on the trek. Because many people were kicking their kids out of the house. I'm trying to figure out what I look forward to. I don't know. I liked things about being in quarantine. I liked having my time. But I am happy now to just sort of leave the house and feel like life is normal. Just feeling like life is normal.
I liked traffic.
Oh yeah. It's like those things that drove you nuts. You're like, oh,
and
it's
then
great to just see a bunch of people.
When things started to open back up, I find myself getting really angry driving because I'm like, where'd you people come from? But yeah, I liked traffic.
The thing I this is gonna sound weird, but the thing I would like to happen soon as I'd like to be able to go into a restaurant and not feel like I entered a doctor's office. Like, I'm so tired of having
See,
the
I
person,
haven't even,
like, take the mask off. Like, let's just, come on.
I
This
haven't
is
been back
annoying.
in a restaurant.
Yeah.
I have this overwhelming fear of what if I'm gonna touch the crevice of the booth that they didn't clean? And I know it's ridiculous and irrational,
But
but.
I had this thought. I'm in the line picking up DQ, and I've got this little, snot-nosed, I mean that with all due respect, a teenager serving me, right? And they're all masked up and they've got gloves. I can see them all back there, and I'm like, this is probably the cleanest this place has ever been in its history of existence.
For a while, I would only go to Chick-fil-A though, because I knew they were clear.
Yeah.
Like, they were handing you stuff on a tray, and I was like, I know where
I
I'm
remember
going
the day it went viral, because like I said, I live at Banks Crossing, so I remember the day it went viral that an employee of the McDonald's there had tested positive and they weren't shutting it down. And like everybody was in an uproar calling
picketing.
it, yes, I mean,
Shut
it was,
down.
which granted, I hadn't been to McDonald's because I felt like you. Chick-fil-A was probably really clean.
They've got everything down
Yeah,
to science. They know
For
what to
sure.
do.
And they do it in a very pleasant way.
Yeah.
So you're always pleasant. But when the kid got done and I was driving off, I was like, I can't wait for the day for that snotty teenager just to serve me some normal again. Like, we're all just looking forward to the 80s back on the...
It's different, and it's gotta be, I know it's different for Emma because she works at Huck's and
Yeah.
they run the drive-thru and everything, and it's so hot, you know, and in that, I can't imagine in that kitchen and being, the other day at the funeral here, I would sit in the pew and I was like, pulling it down, put it back up,
So obviously one of the things that a lot of churches are going to do and a lot of leaders are going to end up doing is they're going to come back and they're going to start thinking of those things they wish they had done, or those things that they feel like they should learn, or they're going to want us to start figuring out what can we learn from this, or what things can we do, maybe we feel like we could do better next time, or whatever. So I guess the question I want to ask you is, what is something, or what are some things that you think we should learn from quarantine? Whether that's us as a church at Galilee, or maybe that's just church in general, maybe that's as Christians. I mean, what's something or some things, I mean, whatever, that you feel like we really need to learn from this time in quarantine?
not to be so busy. Because I feel like we focus more on each other and our families because there wasn't anything else we could do. And I don't want to get back to the gotta go here, gotta go here, gotta go here, gotta do this, we gotta have this, we gotta have that. I liked this slowness and focusing on each other.
Yeah, I do agree. I think that the temptation to coming back is going to be, let's load the
Right.
calendar with activity
Right.
and busyness. And that is true. We do get to a point where we're busy, which is not actually ministry. Like,
Right.
You can find those two things.
And I feel like we can be better, we can serve the people better by not being so busy and just focusing on needs and, and ministry in itself.
I don't want the fear to overtake and disappear. Like, I feel like for me, it was easy for people to just hole up in their houses and disappear. And, I feel like it's still important to be a face for people and check on people. And, like, I feel like there was times that probably I could have gone to someone and, like, checked on them in a safe way. And I didn't let myself do that because I was too scared to even leave my
Well, you
house.
don't know how.
Yeah, so I feel like I think that's something I could for next time, especially now that
Hopefully
I've
there's
passed.
not
a next time.
But,
Yeah.
but
you said, what do we learn for?
Right,
but just, I don't want it to completely consume me next time and not and disappear. So
right, let that fear
Yeah.
control too much. One of the things to me, I hope that we've learned that we can do it. And what I mean by that is I feel like this has been a really challenging time, obviously, and it can be, it's unprecedented probably in our country, in our history. But I think coming into this situation, a lot of churches and a lot of leaders and a lot of Christians were like, I don't know if we can do this. And I think we've shown that we can do it. Like, we can face down a difficult time, a challenging moment, and still be okay on the other side of it.
Oh, yeah.
you know, and I can do it. I can handle it. You know, hopefully there's not another time. But, you know, if whatever it might be, even if it's not necessarily church-wide, globally related like a pandemic, maybe it's just a personal thing in our life, but we've learned, like, I can do this. I can be faithful in the hard times, and be able to actually continue forward. And the church will survive. Like, that's the other thing too. Like, I think we should just step back. I mean, yeah, we're still not sure as to what church life will look like ultimately and how this pandemic has affected it moving forward in the future. And that's one of the things I want to talk about in a minute. I don't think it's going to be that awful. I don't think we should be that pessimistic about it, but it's definitely going to have an impact. But I think hopefully what we can say is, like, the Church of Jesus Christ didn't go anywhere. Like, a pandemic can't keep it down. We may have not met in our building for a long time, but
I think
we're
it
still
grew
here.
people's faith
I think so
stronger.
too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people that might not have come to church felt like they could watch online. They were in a safe place, right? And they could try that, and now they've understood how important it was to have that during the scary times. So now moving forward, they've, you know, grown that.
Yeah, and that's a whole other thing too, I think, is that this time forced us to innovate. It forced us to think differently. Overnight, literally overnight, right? And
I think it was like a Friday or Saturday when we were still going, and then we didn't.
It was
overnight.
It was a Saturday afternoon at like 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I had come home from the men's conference.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been at the men's conference that day, that weekend. So it was like overnight, suddenly things were different. And so we were forced to innovate, and we were forced to start thinking differently and how we're going to connect with people and reach people. And hopefully we've learned too that we don't need a pandemic to force us to do that, right? We can always be going, okay, we can try something new, and it didn't kill us. You know, what I think is funny about it is, for a lot of churches, the online component, just thinking about Christianity across the board, has been one of those new frontiers that for a lot of churches, they're like, I don't know if I want to go there. But the pandemic forced me to, right? And now they're coming back going, well, it wasn't so bad. Like, we can actually make it work in a positive way. I'm
part of some online groups on Facebook for church communication and social media. And they're like, okay, what do we need to get on live? I mean, and some of them were just live Facebook, the sermon. I mean, so yeah, there's a lot that you wouldn't think, but there's a lot of churches that don't know how to do it.
And seeing the videos of churches that, you know, this was their first experience.
But it was cool to see. It was very cool to see, because I follow some, like, you know, Philip and I used to go to like a very small country church, and they were having to get online. I mean, that was cool to see that they were being able to reach.
But you could see how hard they were trying just to make it work.
Well, and I appreciated the lo-fi for some of them, you know, because again, you've got those churches like a Passion City Church or a Compassion Christian Church that they've got 10, 20,000 people coming to their church, and so they've got these great cameras and they've got all this stuff. And then you see these little churches that are just like YouTube, you know, or Facebook Live, and
or doing it this way,
right? You know, it's someone, and that was cool to see. Though. Yeah. Again, they were kind of allowing the situation to kind of challenge them, and then use what they
but
have.
not take them down either, too, because
they
might not
give up.
Yeah.
So what are some things you guys think that we should, what do you think are some great things that can come out of quarantine? We talked a little bit about online. Is it something great that for some churches, and I think for ours, is good coming out of quarantine? But what are some things you guys think? And let's think about Galilee too, specifically. That moving forward in the future, we've learned, it's come out of this. I think we can.
The change can be good.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Change can be good.
And
we don't have to be afraid of it. Yeah.
I mean, and there's a lot of things that I'm afraid of. I mean, you don't want to necessarily do something different, but you know, it's grown us as a church, I think. Well, we had to change a lot overnight too.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I would agree.
Yeah.
Not being so busy, but.
Yeah, not being so busy.
I think.
Or not. I've learned to not be such a perfectionist. You know, things are gonna.
You sure you're not one? You're one. Anyways, go ahead.
But I think, you know, everything for me always had to be perfect in its little, and this caused it not to be that way. Like I didn't even have a printer at home. You know, so I had to go out and figure that out. You know, and because I wasn't coming up here to do it. and the tools that we use, like the bulletins and connect cards and everything having to go digitally, it's different.
Yeah. Well, I feel, again, going back to the idea of change, I think one of the great things is it's forced us to address some things that we needed to address in the future. But also, I was like, and again, the change thing is, it's okay. Like, some of the things that hopefully we learned that some of the things that we thought were so important about what church life should be, we go, I guess that wasn't that big of a deal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't really need all that. That's,
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it, you know. And so we've learned, like, even going back to the thing, I've learned what I can do without. You know, I've learned that, like, maybe
Well,
these
that-
things are not as necessary as I thought they were.
I think that in life too, because just living a simpler life is what everyone has realized is okay. I mean, y'all know I have a husband that's like, I don't like technology. And he is, you know, country and fishing but you saw almost all families doing that. Like they went simple and they enjoyed it, and my kids didn't want to be on their device and they wanted to be outside. So that was a lifestyle change, but I think it was a lifestyle change that was good for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I had heard that camper sales have like
skyrocket.
exponential.
Well,
during this
I think
time.
those are two reasons. Probably to get out, but also I don't think anyone wanted to stay in
Yeah.
with anyone else.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
true.
all, I mean, those are all good things.
Yeah, right.
Like you're
I mean,
going camping with your family.
Yeah.
So,
Family time has really, really.
Yeah, that's another great thing that's come out of it, and for me personally, it's that balance, right? Because it's easy, you know, when there's a lot of activities, it's easy for us to throw ourselves into church life, if you will, and I think sometimes we who serve the church in the positions that we do, we can forget that church life is also family life.
Right.
You know.
Because we work a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, and I would like to find a better way to balance that for my family. So, because they've known nothing else their entire lives. My
Yeah.
children, my grandchildren, you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone and they were talking about how, like, big corporations too can now, how they see how important it is for you to be with your family. Because, like, this stopped, like, just be home. Take
Yeah.
care of who you need to take care of. And you don't have to be here 50, 60 hours a week. And you can get your stuff done at home. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom works for a big corporation, and you can find that they're going to start working from home a whole lot more because they can, and then they've got that time with their family. So
Yeah.
that's cool too that came out.
All right, as we wrap up today, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about future things. So we are still in discussion phase about what phase 2 for us reopening. So we're not going to touch on that, but we do have an activity coming up.
We do.
So what is
Busy,
that?
busy. No.
What is that
Busy.
activity? That thing that we're not supposed to put on the calendar, but we did anyways. No, I'm just kidding.
Family fun night.
Family fun night. We're going to create an environment for families to come out and have fun.
Yes. It will be July 10th, 7:30, food trucks open, and we're going to have trivia, family trivia. Now, what we want you to do is come out, bring your chairs, your blankets, or whatever. Stay 6 feet away from other families. Just be out.
Or not. I mean, really, at this point, we're not going to come beat you. Over
Oh, no. But, you know, we advise it.
What you feel comfortable with.
The queen might.
Do what you
She
feel
might pull out a
Do what you-
ruler
yes.
and measure you, but
I'm not going to measure.
Do what you feel comfortable doing.
I've been really bad about that. I've been like when I would stand in places, you know, and they've got it marked
Yeah.
6 feet. I think about, okay, if I was to lay down like that,
I'm not 6 feet. So.
I don't think that I could do, that's not right, so.
I've done that too. So the food truck,
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A,
Yes.
7:30,
Our
and
Trivia, we're still figuring out. I think they're going to be able to text their answers in. We're going to have someone MC, and it should be fun. Prizes, we'll have some prizes.
prizes, yes. And then the movie will begin at 8:45 when it gets dark, and we are showing Frozen 2, which Symphony is going to be so happy because Elsa and Anna are her thing.
I have not seen yet, so I'm excited.
I've seen it 1,200 times.
I know every line by heart.
Yes,
So we'll have trivia and then movie.
yes.
Wow. This
Come
is-
for some, or all, or one piece in the beginning. Just
Or
the food truck.
Chick-fil-A.
Or you just come for Chick-fil-A.
Kids, grandkids, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Don't matter. All right.
July 10th.
Fantastic. All right. I want to thank you guys for being with me today. We're going to be wrapping up episode 12 because we're technically supposed to be doing work somewhere. So we're going to go do it. Be sure to be on the lookout for Family Fun Night info. As always, if you haven't already signed up for our Going On at Galilee, that's our weekly email newsletter that you can grab. You can email one of these people here. Basically, take our names and add Galilee to the end of it, and we will make sure that you get on it. If you have not, is there another way to get on it?
Sign up on our website.
Yeah, you can sign up on the website.
Sign up on the website, obviously, Galilee.org for all other stuff. And that's pretty much it. I'm also encouraging people to email me, joey@galilee.org, for content ideas. So I'd love to get feedback about stuff that you'd like to hear, you'd like to see us do with the podcast, so we can make sure that it's content that you like and that you will find interesting. So anyways, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we will see you later. Bye.